Hi everyone, let's talk about Praga Caput Regni, which I just did a full 2-player playthrough for. If you haven't seen that yet, it's linked in the description or up in the corner. And yeah, you can check out the actual game in action rather than me just going on about it. But if you are interested in what I think, stick around. So I absolutely love Vladimir Suchi's games, from Last Will to Shipyard. It's one of my favourite games overall. Underwater Cities as well is my favourite game of 2 years ago, was it now? Yeah, I think it was a 2018 game. Yeah, absolutely love his games. He's done more than that little list. So Praga is his latest, coming soon if you were wondering. And I think that it is an absolutely fantastic game for a start. Let's just get that out of the way without trying to rank them amongst the others. I think it's an absolutely sublime game. I think I like it even more than I loved Underwater Cities. I think I've already said this a couple of times this year that I'll be surprised if this doesn't make my top 10. Although a bit hesitant as to kind of being seen as being hyperbolic about it, I would be surprised if this isn't my game of the year. It's down here if you're wondering what I'm bashing. I'm just looking at the back of it and stuff, just so I don't forget things. But yeah, I think that as it stands at the moment, I haven't actually gone through and meticulously tried to make a list or anything, but I have enjoyed some games immensely this year, but I don't think any as quite as much as Praga Caput Regni. So I think that it has, while being a very different game overall, I think it's got some lovely things in common with probably my favourite Vladimir Suchi game, Shipyard, in that Shipyard has got this lovely action selection that's worker placement, basically. It's got these track of actions, and when you choose one, it goes to the front of this train of actions and gets occupied. And every action that kind of falls behind, you get more money the more people that are in front of you. So if you take actions that have been neglected more and more, you are likely to get rewarded with a load of money that can be really, really valuable in Shipyard. You can even end up taking an extra turn in it. That's, the action crane in Praga really reminds me of that, but kind of done more, I don't know about more elegantly, but more automatically. Because there is this action crane, this wheel that just keeps on turning every turn, and you can take any action from this. So it's a little bit more free in a way, because once somebody had chosen an action in Shipyard, it's done until they move off it. Whereas in Praga, every action's up for grabs, even the actions somebody just took on their previous turn. But it's going to cost you 2 gold to do that. Or it's going to cost you 1 gold to do some actions, nothing for some, and then the actions that just get left behind, if people are really going for something and ignoring an element of the game entirely, it can be really, really lucrative, up to 5 points for that, and that 5 points sticks around on that tile until somebody ends up doing it and taking it away. It opens you up to the actions that you can take, makes you weigh up, well, I really, really need this action, but it's my last gold. Is it worth spending it on this? How am I going to get it back if I haven't gone for mines and I'm not very good at generating gold and all of that stuff? But it makes you think as well about, okay, how is this going to turn? Where are these actions going to go? Because once every rotation of the wheel, every time it goes all the way around, there are kind of 12 rotations, but there's only 11 spaces on it. There's this arrow space that is kind of a double rotation every now and then that always seems to end up surprising me. That's, okay, well, I'm thinking that, yeah, that's not going to be too bad. It's going to be worth a point, but they're not going to take that, or 2 points. And, oh, it's the double rotation. Suddenly it's worth 5 points, and, yeah, why wouldn't you take that action away from me? So it's another thing to be aware of as well, about how attractive are these actions becoming that you are not taking, and should you take it? As well as just the actions, there's the bonuses that are printed on the inside of the action crane that are a whole extra thing to, whether you desperately need an egg or just some stone or some gold, or whether you want one of the beautiful special tiles that you can only get if you have taken the action you want from one of the lovely S spaces that unlock those. So sometimes that's just not an option and you have to ignore them. But sometimes that's the perfect thing, and maybe the action you want is free, but if you paid a gold or something for it, you could have this this special tile or the bonus that you really need to be able to afford the tile that you want. It's brilliant for kind of opening things up and restricting you at the same time. I think it works absolutely beautifully. And as a little side note from the game itself for a bit, I want to just talk about the production while I'm thinking about the action crane. because yeah, the game looks absolutely beautiful. The 3D hunger wall and cathedral and the bridge, while not necessary, and you can completely play without those if you want it all flat on the table. It is printed on the board for the wall and the cathedral, and it comes with loads of replacements to add variability and stuff. All of that stuff is absolutely wonderful. But there are a couple of touches that I absolutely love in this that seem like such minor things. Don't worry, I'm not saying that the game is amazing because of these things, but they are, the cherries on top of it. That's the action crane goes around, and every time it's finished a rotation, you need to slide this cube along, which is, around. There are so many rotations in the game before it ends and you have final scoring. So when the action crane has gone round almost all the way, there is a cube inside that drops through a hole in the board and stops you from turning the crane anymore until you've remembered to move the round tracker along. It sounds like such a minor thing saying it out now, but it's just a lovely little trick. It's a lovely little bit of extra thought that has been put into the making of the game to remind you of this thing, because while there are probably more players and probably someone will remember at the table, it's just lovely that, we don't even have to think about it. There's no chance of skipping past this. One of the things about board games is that it's down to you as players to keep all of these rules in your head and to remember to do all of these things while you are trying to think of potentially brain-burning strategies. It's easy for some things to slip through, and it's lovely to have a kind of automated thing built in that's as simple as having a hole in the board and a wooden cube. And another thing along the same vein, so dual layer playboards, absolutely lovely, especially in games where we've got these tracks that we will be moving up, so any knocks, it's all fine, it's all held within the dual layer. And you've got wheels for your resources, you don't need tokens or anything because you've got lovely little wheels. But on top of that, there is a bonus to be had as soon as you get 6 of a single resource or 9 of either resource. And so the wheel has a little spoke, is it? Pointing out, and as you would get to 6 of a resource, so as soon as you've got 5, you can't move the wheel any further because there's a cube in the way, because it's reminding you need the bonus for getting 6. Again, another really, really minor thing that I realise I've spent a lot of time talking about now, but it's absolutely beautiful to remind you to take that extra bonus. A physical impediment to moving the action crane and moving your own resource wheels until you've remembered to do the upkeep that's required of you. So, okay, I'm done with that bit now. I'll get back to the game itself. It's, my favourite thing in Euro games, I think, is being kind of presented with this board of possibilities through and just without all of the extra variable stuff put on, just with the tiles that are available to you right now in the buildings, upgrades, and walls, and the way things have come out in the action crane. So just to begin with, they're just randomised, and based on where you are in turn order, they're going to be a little bit different. I've only played it solo and 2 players at the moment. Maybe I'll play it with more very soon. I'm hoping to, certainly. But yeah, just seeing what's out there. What can I go for? Well, if I upgrade this, that's going to work with this, that kind of thing. Which of the plazas are available down in the city? Which bonuses I could get from that? And am I really going to focus on a particular facet of it? Because loads of it is interlinked. You're forced to do a bit of everything. Well, you're not forced, but you're encouraged. You get adjacency bonuses in the upgrades and walls. You get the red adjacency bonuses. Well, they're only worth points if you have moved along the cathedral, which generally you can get it in some other ways, but the main way you will get movement along this cathedral and make those tokens worth points is by doing buildings, which is the other thing. Walls generally need stone, although often need a bit of gold, and buildings generally need gold, often a bit of stone. So it's pulling you in the other direction, and the reverse is true as well. You'll get the blue adjacency tokens from the buildings, but for those to be worth anything, you need to move along the wall, which generally you'll get that movement through walls. So there's an intermingling of stuff, but you can certainly make something your priority, and you'll get rewarded a lot at the end of the game if you've managed to put a load of walls down. I think it's 18 points for putting 6 down, along with all the benefits they've got you along the way. Or the buildings, it's a more complex thing going with buildings, in that you get points for certain ones based on how many buildings are already around a plaza, or certain ones will give you a cube, and every building is next to a single plaza. Apart from, in a game with fewer than 4 players, some plazas aren't there, so technically that's not true, but generally the buildings that are around plazas are next to one plaza. And there's kind of a majority thing for there where everybody is getting something. There are 2 benefits around the plazas. Everybody who's got a cube will get one of those benefits. Whoever's got the most cubes will get both of those benefits. And even in a 2-player game, if one of you isn't really doing that, it's not going to fill up very much, but at the end of the game, you will still get one of those benefits. And often it's points and stuff that will be useful to you at the end of the game. So it's still something to go for. And the board is tightened up a little bit for 2 players in that some of those plazas are turned off and a couple of buildings are just already put down there that might increase your chances of getting some adjacency bonuses and increase the point that you'll get for a couple of the plazas right from the off. I love the King's Road thing in that so much of this, okay, diversion again from the actual mechanics of the game. I'm sure it is kind of a labour of love. The subject matter is clearly close to Vladimir's heart in the way that it felt that way for Vital Lacerda's Lisboa. That's where it comes from. There's this really interesting history of that city. Here is a game completely themed around that interesting period in Lisboa's history, which was absolutely fascinating and absolutely belting game. Belting, yes. And similarly, it's about the construction of Prague. It's full of the history of that. It's got a page telling you about all of these things now, all of these things that are still standing, the Hunger Wall and the cathedral and the Charles Bridge and stuff. And it explains little quirks like, well, why is eggs an important resource in this game? Well, it's because the bridge itself was the building materials were said to have involved eggs, and that the king had to order in a massive quantity of eggs to get this thing built. But consequently, it's been standing for X hundred years, so it must work. And it's nice having that kind of that weird quirk, but it being tied to this thematic thing as well. So okay, back to the gameplay itself. Move along the bridge, a lovely little thing, getting you some bonuses. You can race along it, or you can try and get the eggs first, so you will get the most out of all of your bonuses. But then on the bridge itself, there is chances for big one-off bonuses in the 4 tiles, and they're adding something onto the bridge, so visually building this bridge, but also the things that you cover up are getting you bonuses as well. Based on the combinations that are next to each other on the bridge, you can get a different pair of bonuses for doing that. And then the 5 tiles are endgame scoring things. So there's only 3 over here in the bridge, but then up at the cathedral, there are the other 3. So you can't really be sure what's going to be there until you get there. You are going to get the choice of one of 3 things. Anytime that happens in these bridge tiles, in the technology tiles, you're still going to get a choice. It's not like you're going in there completely blind as to what is going to be in there. But there's all sorts of variation in where they are going to be as well. And those bridge tiles you put on an area of the bridge and get the bonuses as well, providing that there was space on the bridge. So the cathedral and the Hunger Wall, they are lovely 3D things, but that they work in a lovely way. Everything in this game seems tough to do at first. It's not like you are taking kind of baby steps, though. You are always kind of getting something done, even if it's just as simple as gaining a resource and moving your tracker along so it'll be worth more later, or just getting those resources now so you can be doing stuff. It seems, at first, it's so hard to get what you want done. The game seems, I'm diverting from the actual things and talking about the game in general, but it seems like pretty much every fantastic game. It seems a little bit too short, but not as in a criticism of the game. That if you could have just had another round, if you could have just had a couple more turns, then you could have done all of this amazing stuff. But that's kind of keep them wanting more for a start. But also that's kind of the mark of it, to make you want to come back and just think about how you could have maybe optimized things a little bit more this time around, because it can be very tight to get what you want done. But aside from their 3D presentation, which really works on the mechanisms as well, it's not just this, we've decided to make things 3D. I think it genuinely does help with the kind of the comprehension, the learning of what is involved in these things, and it is a nice thing to look at as well, isn't it? But yeah, you're moving along, as I mentioned, to make your tokens worth more points, but you're also moving up because you get more points the higher the row that you're on, and that often needs you to spend windows, which are another resource that you can get throughout the game. Getting to the top of Cathedral is how you get those other end game scoring bonuses, but then on the wall and the cathedral themselves, some of the spaces have, some arrows where they will give you free movements along or up, or some will give you points. So that is another little puzzle, another little mini game in itself to figure out what the most effective path is going to be through them. Should I save my windows now because it will be much better to go up at this time because there's something on this row that I need first? Yeah, it's another absolutely lovely touch to it. And then there's the upgrades and the technologies that are, especially the early technologies, which are the permanent abilities that you get. Every time you get a gold from the action crane, get an extra gold and a point. Things like that. And then there are the technologies and the upgrades. So the early technologies, similarly to the upgrades, the early technologies are the ones that will last you through the whole game and are things like whenever you get a gold from the action crane, get an extra gold and a point, things like that. And the upgrades, whenever you go along the King's Road, you get an extra point. They are significant. They are significant boons to want them and to have them guiding you a little bit. They aren't big enough to be like, okay, I get extra gold from the action crane, so I'm only gonna take tiles from when they are underneath gold. It's not immense enough to make you want to do that, but it's all lovely at nudging you in different directions and maybe making you think a little bit more about something that you had previously ignored. Not something that you'd neglected entirely. But you can see as these things build up, especially when the upgrades tie into the walls for the corner and adjacency bonuses. So it's got this lovely little tile laying puzzle on top of it as well. If you go in that direction, you don't have to do any of these things very much. It's good to have kind of a base of stuff. You probably don't want to completely ignore an action, but hey, maybe that's a possibility. But being able to, you get the benefit of an action you've just upgraded. If you did it this turn and then you upgraded that action, then you get the upgraded bonus right away, which encourages another part of this, and something again that was key in Shipyard, that in Shipyard it was just an amount of money that could get you an extra turn. Here it's the gold windows. It's either a pair of gold windows or a gold and a white window. The white ones are a lot more common to get hold of, but that pair gets you an extra action of your choice. Doesn't matter about the action crane or what's going on there at all. It's just pick one of the 6 actions and you can just do it. And combined with an upgrade action and getting the bonus right away, or combined with taking a couple of steps along the King Road one after another, especially when your 4 bonus gives you another step across, or was that a level 4 technology? Either way, you're racing ahead and getting to see these things first, or taking the last spot on the bridge. Not that I've got experience of that because it can't happen in a 2-player game. But yeah, all of these things just might seem kind of disparate at the start and separate, and that I just need to do this, but they have this beautiful way of kind of seeping into each other. And even though the action that you desperately want isn't there now, it's something else can probably help you along the way, or can be very useful instead. And it's it's another thing that's gold is not just a resource to mean that you're going to go into buildings exclusively, because gold is also going to give you much more freedom around that action crane, because I don't care if the actions cost 2 all the time. I can make so much gold, it doesn't matter. But then have I wasted too many turns doing that? And when the wheel rotates to its kind of last space, there is a lovely little table on the board that kind of hammers it home how many turns that you've got left. And in a 2-player game, that's always 5 for the first player, 6 for the second player, because of how the wheel alternates, having 11 slots in it each time. But it's another lovely little production touch, in that you probably need a straight up clear reminder about just how little time in this game is left. You only have 16 turns, and it might seem a lot that you've got 5 of them left, but every single time that has happened as I've been playing, it's been like, okay, Panic stations. What are we going to do? We've got nothing, and there are 5 turns left. How can I possibly make this work? And it's always been a beautifully delicious, satisfying puzzle. Probably because I read the word "delicious" games right there. But yeah, it's still early days for me in terms of the game. I've not had it that long. It's kind of a last minute prototype arrival. I wanted to get a video up as soon as possible, to tell the wider world about the game. But you, the loyal, the constant viewers, to steal a phrase about this fantastic game, because it was really exciting to be talking about underwater cities and seeing the people that ended up getting that and loving it. Although you probably couldn't argue that Underwater Cities felt like a game that should have had a couple more rounds. It had enough. It was not too long, but you got lost in the majesty of it all. But hopefully this happens with this. Hopefully people get this and agree with me, because it's always dangerous to be this effusive about something that somebody might click on, watch the first 30 seconds where I say that's probably my favourite game of the year, which I do stand by, and then just go, okay, I will buy that, and then potentially be disappointed about it. But hey, that's a whole separate topic about, getting to know your reviewer's taste, even though I'm a playthrougher, kind of, but this is kind of a review. Watch the playthrough, though, is what I'm trying to say, and make your own mind up. If you watch the playthrough and think, I don't understand what he is so excited about, maybe it's not going to be one for you, but hopefully it is, and we can talk about it and stuff, because it's brilliant. That's Praga Caput Regni, the 400th video. I should have said that sooner. There's been 400 of these. Let's make 400 more. You can help me on Patreon. That's linked in the description and stuff. Thank you very much for joining me, though. I hope this video wasn't too long. I do know that my throat is hurting, though, so that tells me that it might have been. I hope it told you something. Bye.